It always begins subtly. At first, you don't even notice the change. Her messages start taking a little longer to arrive. Her tone sounds slightly colder. Her laughter in your conversations feels forced. Then the distance grows. What used to feel warm and familiar turns into uncertainty. The rhythm you once had disappears, and all that's left is silence. You open your phone, check the last message, and that sick feeling hits your chest. She's ignoring you. You replay everything in your head, trying to figure out where you went wrong. You remember how she once smiled at your presence, how she used to respond instantly, how the connection felt effortless. You start thinking maybe you said too much, texted too often, or showed too much interest. And now you find yourself waiting for a sign, a reply, any small signal that she still cares. But nothing comes. And in that silence, your mind becomes your worst enemy. You start wondering if she's talking to someone else, if she got bored, or if she just decided you weren't worth her attention anymore. That thought alone stings, not because you need her validation, but because you hate feeling powerless. You hate the idea that someone can go from caring to cold without a single explanation. But here's the truth. Most men don't realize. When a woman starts ignoring you, she's not always pulling away to hurt you. She's responding to an energy shift. Somewhere along the line, she stopped feeling the polarity that made her drawn to you in the first place. The moment you began seeking her attention instead of commanding it, the attraction started to fade. Because women don't fall for men who chase validation. They fall for men whose energy can't be shaken by silence. The moment she felt that your world revolved around her response, she stopped feeling your strength. You see, women test not with words, but with withdrawal. Ignoring you isn't always rejection. Sometimes it's curiosity. She wants to see if your emotions can stay steady when hers disappear. She wants to see if you'll lose your composure, start begging for attention, or collapse into confusion. Because how you handle her silence tells her everything she needs to know about your confidence. Most men fail here. They start sending multiple messages, explaining themselves, trying to fix the connection. But every attempt only proves her suspicion, that you value her approval more than your own peace. The more you chase, the faster she runs. But the man who doesn't chase, who doesn't panic, who pulls back with calm indifference, that man triggers something different inside her. His silence becomes magnetic. His absence starts to echo. The same woman who ignored him begins to feel uneasy. She starts checking if he's moved on, wondering who's getting his attention now. Because here's the paradox. The moment you stop chasing her, her mind starts chasing you. And when that happens, she doesn't even realize it. She just feels it. The shift in control, the weight of your composure, the emotional gravity of a man who no longer needs her response to feel validated. That's when her curiosity turns to craving, and her silence becomes her own punishment. So if she's ignoring you right now, don't react, don't chase, don't explain. Because the secret isn't about saying more, it's about saying nothing, and letting your silence speak the truth you didn't expect to hear. Before we start, a quick reminder, my complete Stoic Couple course is now live at thestoiccouple.podia.com. If you've been learning from these videos, that's just the surface. Inside the course, we go deeper. Mastering attraction, understanding female psychology, and rebuilding your mindset from the inside out. Join once, and you're in for life. With lifetime access to all future courses, books, and new lessons. Plus, you'll be part of our private Stoic community, a brotherhood where men like you grow together in discipline, power, and self-control. It's available in English and Spanish, and you can enroll instantly at thestoiccouple.podia.com or click the link below. Enroll once, grow forever. Let's begin. Section 1. Why she's ignoring you. The hidden psychology behind her silence. When a woman begins to ignore you, the first mistake most men make is assuming that something externally went wrong. That she found someone else, that she got bored, or that she was never really interested in the first place. But in reality, what usually triggers her distance happens internally. It's not about what you did, but how your energy shifted in ways you didn't even notice. Women are emotionally intuitive. They feel your energy long before you say a word. They can sense when you've gone from leading the interaction to chasing it. They can feel when your confidence starts depending on their approval. And once that happens, attraction starts to erode silently. You see, women are drawn to certainty. The kind of quiet masculine confidence that says, I'm okay whether you choose me or not. That's the energy that makes her feel safe, excited, and intrigued at the same time. But when your tone changes, When your availability increases, when you start reacting emotionally to her delays or silences, she begins to feel something different: pressure. She starts to sense that your peace depends on her validation, and instinctively, she pulls away to test the truth of that. It's not always a conscious choice. It's an emotional mechanism. Her silence is her way of asking, "Are you as grounded as you appeared to be?" When you first met her, she felt your composure. You weren't trying to impress her, you were just being. That unbothered confidence created tension, a feeling she couldn't fully understand but wanted to be near. But as the connection deepened, something changed. Maybe you started overanalyzing her responses. Maybe you began texting more than leading. Maybe you started treating her attention as a reward instead of a reflection of your own value. Slowly, without realizing it, you made her the center of your emotional world, and that's when she felt the shift. It's not that she doesn't like you anymore. It's that the polarity between you started to fade. She no longer feels your independence. She feels your expectation. The woman who once felt magnetized by your presence now feels slightly trapped by your emotional need, and since she doesn't want to hurt your ego or create drama, she doesn't explain it. She simply retreats, quietly, strategically, and without closure. This is the moment where most men lose themselves, because the silence triggers their insecurity. They start reaching out, chasing, trying to fix what doesn't need fixing. But every message sent from anxiety pushes her further away. What she's really testing isn't your words, it's your emotional control. She's asking, can you stay calm when I create distance? Can you still lead when I stop responding? Because the truth is this: when a woman ignores you, she's not rejecting your effort. She's measuring your energy. She's trying to see whether your confidence was real or just performance. And the man who reacts emotionally fails the test. But the man who stays silent, grounded, and focused on his purpose, he becomes unforgettable. Section 2. What happens in her mind when you don't react? When you stop reacting, something profound begins to happen in her mind, something she never expected. At first, she feels confident in her decision to ignore you. She tells herself she needs space, that she's not as interested, or that she simply wants to see how you'll handle it. In her mind, this distance gives her control. It lets her observe from a distance whether you'll fall into the same pattern every other man does: chasing, explaining, overinvesting, begging for clarity. But when you don't do any of that, when you pull back your attention calmly, when your silence carries confidence instead of bitterness, she feels something she didn't anticipate: uncertainty. It's subtle at first. She begins checking her phone, expecting your name to appear, and when it doesn't, the silence she created starts echoing back at her. What she thought would make her feel powerful now starts to feel confusing, because women are used to emotional reaction, to seeing their absence spark pursuit. When that doesn't happen, the emotional dynamic flips instantly. Her mind starts racing with questions she can't quiet down. Did he lose interest? Did he move on that quickly? Was I never that important? What once felt like control now feels like risk. The risk of losing your attention entirely. And for a woman, that's when curiosity transforms into tension. She begins to wonder what changed. Why did your energy shift so suddenly? Why aren't you chasing anymore? Why are you so calm while she's still overthinking? That mystery, that composure, that silence. It becomes magnetic. You see, silence done right isn't a punishment. It's a mirror. It reflects her behavior back to her without anger, without words, without explanation. And because women operate emotionally, that reflection hits deeper than any argument could. She begins to feel the emotional absence she caused, but now it's multiplied by your detachment. It's not you who's waiting anymore. It's her. That's the paradox of emotional polarity. When you stop reacting, she starts reflecting. The distance she created was meant to test you, but now it tests her. She starts imagining scenarios: who you're with, what you're doing, whether another woman has your attention. And while she tries to convince herself that she doesn't care, her emotions betray her logic. Because in her subconscious, she starts associating your silence with strength. You've gone from predictable to mysterious, from available to selective. You've reactivated the same primal tension that attracted her in the beginning, the feeling of wanting something she can't fully have. And that's when something powerful happens. Her curiosity becomes pursuit. She begins to engage again, subtly at first, liking a story, replying to something small, asking indirect questions, re-establishing contact under the disguise of just checking in. But deep down, she's not checking in. She's checking if the door is still open. And the reason this works isn't manipulation, it's mastery. You didn't change to get her back. You simply returned to your natural state, composed, confident, and detached. And that's what makes her chase again. Section 3, the emotional shift, when she starts chasing you again. When a woman starts chasing you again, it rarely begins with a grand gesture. It begins in the small, almost invisible ways she re-enters your world. She likes your post, she views your story, she sends a random hey after weeks of silence. To most men, these small moves look casual, but they're not. They're emotional checkpoints. She's not just reaching out, she's trying to feel the temperature again. She wants to know if your silence came from strength or from spite. And the moment she realizes it came from strength, everything changes. Because silence backed by power hits different. It doesn't say, I don't care. It says, I control what deserves my energy. It's calm, not cold. And that difference, that stillness that isn't born from ego but from confidence, is what reignites her attraction. Suddenly, you're not the man she remembers trying to impress her. You're the man she has to earn again. That emotional reversal is magnetic. She begins to feel the same tension you once felt. She starts analyzing you now. The timing of your replies, the tone of your words, the energy behind your calm. The woman who once ignored you now feels the same uncertainty you used to feel. Because when you stopped chasing her, you didn't just pull back your attention. You reclaimed your emotional center. And that shift radiates in every move you make. Here's the irony most men never understand. The moment you stop trying to make her come back, that's when she actually does. Not because she suddenly respects your silence, but because she starts feeling it. Your absence begins to highlight what your presence once gave her. Stability, validation, direction. And when that emotional void grows too loud, her instinct is to close it. That's when she starts chasing. But her chase will never look like yours did. She won't beg. She won't confess. She'll do it in her own subtle, feminine way, through curiosity, attention, and subtle reconnection. She might say she just wanted to check on you, that she was thinking about you, or that she saw something that reminded her of you. But underneath those excuses lies one thing: emotional discomfort. The discomfort of realizing that she no longer has the power to control your attention. And that's when you must remember, this is not the moment to celebrate. This is the moment to stay grounded. Because the man who breaks his composure too early loses everything he rebuilt. You don't reward her distance with instant affection. You mirror her effort with calm energy. You stay light, confident, and selective. Because attraction isn't about giving her more. It's about giving her less than she expects, but more than she deserves. When you remain unbothered, you remind her why she fell for you in the first place. Not because you were the loudest man in the room, but because you were the calmest. And in that stillness, you become her mirror again. She sees in you what she lost in herself. And that reflection is irresistible. Section 4. How to respond. When she reaches out, without losing control. When she finally reaches out, it's tempting to see it as victory. After all, you've waited, you've held back, you've done the hardest thing a man can do: stay silent in the face of uncertainty. So when her name finally appears on your screen again, a part of you feels relief, excitement, validation. It's human. But this is exactly where most men lose everything they've built. Because they mistake her return for a green light to pour out all the emotion they've been holding in. You have to understand, her message isn't the end of the test, it's the beginning of a new one. She's not just talking to you again because she's certain. She's reaching out because your silence made her uncertain. She wants to feel your energy again, to measure your composure, to see if the balance has shifted. This is not about the words you say. It's about the tone you carry. When you respond, your energy must communicate one simple truth. You're glad to hear from her, but your life didn't stop while she was gone. That's what draws her in deeper. The calm acknowledgement that you're still the same man, only more centered. You don't punish her. You don't guilt her. You don't act like she did you a favor. You simply match her tone with measured warmth. Friendly, light, grounded. She might test you again. She'll ask indirect questions, try to read your mood, maybe even bring up the past. Don't take the bait. Keep the conversation relaxed, almost minimal. Let her talk. Let her feel the space that your silence created. She'll expect either bitterness or eagerness. Give her neither. Give her peace. You see, attraction at this stage is no longer about what you say. It's about what you represent. You're not trying to convince her of your worth anymore. You've already proven it by not needing to. Every calm word, every slow reply, every measured response communicates power. Not arrogance, not coldness. Just quiet confidence. She'll feel it immediately. That emotional shift. The man who once chased her now feels untouchable, not because he's trying to be, but because he's learned to protect his energy. That's what makes your presence magnetic again. She'll start to reattach emotionally, not because you begged her to, but because your peace makes her feel safe to open up again. So when she texts, keep it simple. Be present, but not predictable. Keep your words few, but your energy full. When you show that you're content whether she stays or leaves, she'll choose to stay, not out of pity, but out of desire. Because nothing makes a woman more drawn to a man than his emotional stillness. The man who can stay calm when she returns is the man she begins to trust again. Not the loudest, not the most persuasive, but the one who can lead without words. And that's the power of control. You don't chase connection, you create it by being unshaken. Section 5. The turning point when she starts investing again. There's a moment, quiet but powerful, when you can feel that her energy has changed. The tone of her messages is softer. Her questions start to carry more curiosity. She's no longer texting to test. She's texting to connect. It's subtle, but if you pay attention, you'll notice she's no longer measuring your interest. She's trying to earn it. This is the turning point. It happens when your composure has done what words never could. It's shifted the emotional balance. For the first time, she's not the one being pursued. She's the one feeling pursued from within. She begins to replay the past in her head, remembering the way you used to show up for her, the attention, the warmth, the consistency. And she starts to see it differently. What she once took for granted now feels rare. What she once ignored now feels valuable. And the more you stay composed, the more that feeling grows. Because here's the truth. Women aren't drawn to chaos. They're drawn to certainty. In a world full of men who react emotionally, who beg for validation, who crumble when ignored, your calm becomes a signal of strength. It communicates emotional control, self-respect, and independence. The three things that ignite true feminine attraction. So when she starts showing effort again, initiating conversations, complimenting you, asking personal questions, showing curiosity about your life, don't rush. Don't reward her immediately. This is not about playing games, it's about letting the energy mature. If you rush, you break the rhythm of mystery. If you stay patient, you let her investment deepen. Let her wonder if she still matters to you. Let her question whether you've fully moved on. Let her earn your attention again. Because this time, your attention means something different. It's not free. It's not desperate. It's selective. You see, the man who once gave everything too easily now gives selectively. And that contrast is what keeps her hooked. She feels that you're not driven by need anymore. You're guided by standards. You've evolved from a man chasing connection to a man attracting it through presence. That's the transformation that shifts everything. Now she's the one double texting, overthinking, trying to keep the spark alive, not because you manipulated her, but because your silence reminded her of your value. She realizes that she's not in control anymore, and that realization is both unsettling and irresistible. This is the moment where the attraction becomes real again. Not built on excitement, but on respect. She sees that your peace isn't negotiable, your time isn't free, and your energy isn't desperate. You've reclaimed your masculine frame, and that's what makes her feel safe to surrender again. Because in the end, the man who doesn't demand attention commands it. Section 6. How to rebuild attraction without losing power. When she starts coming back into your orbit, the real challenge begins. Not in winning her again, but in keeping your power while you do. Most men fail here. They think her return is the end of the test, when in truth it's only the beginning of a deeper one. Because now she's not testing your silence anymore, she's testing your balance. She wants to see whether the man you've become can sustain what first drew her in, or if you'll collapse back into the version she walked away from. The truth is, attraction can be rebuilt, but only if it's rebuilt on respect. You can't recreate what you had before by overcompensating, over-explaining, or trying to prove you've changed. You don't need to show her your growth, you need to embody it. That means leading with composure, not convincing. It means expressing interest without attachment. It means being open, but never available on demand. When you start reconnecting, focus on emotional pacing. Don't rush into deep conversations or romantic expectations. Keep it grounded. Let her re-experience your presence without pressure. Because what she's truly looking for isn't excitement. It's security with intention. She wants to feel that you're emotionally available without being emotionally dependent. That you can connect deeply without losing direction. That's what keeps her intrigued. You rebuild attraction through consistency, not intensity. Through your ability to stay calm when things are uncertain. Through your focus on your own mission, health, and mindset. Because a man who's grounded in his purpose automatically becomes magnetic again. Talk less about the past. Don't dissect what went wrong. Every time you revisit old pain, you re-anchor her mind to the version of you that didn't have control. Instead, stay in the present. Show her the strength of a man who learned, adapted, and evolved, not through words, but through energy. When she sees that you're not chasing, not performing, and not reacting, she'll begin to trust your presence again. And that's the secret. Trust rebuilds attraction. When a woman feels that your emotions are stable, that you won't lose control no matter what happens, she starts to relax into your frame again. The same woman who once ignored you now finds herself drawn to your peace, because she can feel it. That masculine stillness that doesn't demand love, but invites it. But never forget this. Rebuilding attraction isn't about winning her back. It's about becoming the kind of man she'd be foolish to lose again. You're no longer chasing her attention. You're setting the tone. You're not waiting for her approval. You're guiding the energy of the connection. That's what separates men who get women temporarily from men who keep their respect permanently. One seeks validation, the other commands presence. And once she feels that difference, she won't just want you again. She'll fear losing you this time. Section 7. The final shift. When she realizes you're no longer the same man, there's always a moment, quiet, unexpected, and almost surreal, when she looks at you and realizes something fundamental has changed. You're still you, but the energy is different. The softness she once took for granted is now replaced by calm strength. The attention she used to expect is no longer guaranteed. The emotional availability that once made her feel in control now feels measured, intentional, earned. And in that moment, she feels something she hasn't felt in a long time: respect. You've become someone she recognizes, yet no longer understands. She remembers the version of you who would have dropped everything to reply instantly, who would have tried to fix the distance, who would have fought to keep her attention. But that man doesn't exist anymore. The man standing in front of her now is centered, grounded, self-contained. His silence doesn't come from pride, but from clarity. His calm isn't indifference, it's discipline. And that shift changes everything. She starts to feel the same uncertainty you once felt, the emotional pull of not knowing where she stands. But this time, it's not a game. It's not manipulation. It's a reflection of the balance you've built. You no longer chase her because you no longer need her to complete you. You've reached a point where her presence is appreciated, not required. And that difference creates a gravity she can't resist. You see, what truly attracts a woman isn't just confidence. It's emotional stability. It's the rare stillness of a man who can feel deeply but remain unshaken. It's the quiet assurance that his world doesn't collapse when someone leaves. That's the kind of presence that commands admiration, not through words, but through vibration. She'll sense it when you speak, the weight behind your tone. She'll feel it when you listen, the patience in your stillness. She'll notice it when you smile, that quiet knowing that you've already faced the worst and found peace in it. That's what makes her fall again. Not for the man she left, but for the man you became in her absence. Because now, you're not offering attention. You're offering energy that carries purpose. You're not seeking to be understood. You're choosing to be felt. And she can feel it. That strength, that serenity, that unspoken power that only comes from mastering your emotions. But here's the real truth. By the time she realizes it, you won't even be waiting for her anymore. You'll be too busy living the life that version of you could never have. The silence that once haunted you has become your peace. The woman who once ignored you is now drawn to your detachment. And the love you once chased now chases you, because nothing is more powerful or more attractive than a man who no longer needs to prove his worth to be seen. At some point, you stop chasing her, not because you stopped caring, but because you finally started seeing. You see how much energy you spent trying to prove your worth to someone who was meant to notice it on her own. You see how your silence, once filled with anxiety, became the space where you rediscovered your strength. You see that walking away wasn't weakness, it was wisdom, because the truth is, every man reaches a point where he must decide what kind of power he wants to hold, the power that comes from control, or the power that comes from clarity. You can spend your life trying to make her understand your value, or you can become the kind of man whose value is self-evident, the man who doesn't need to speak loudly because his presence already says everything, the man who doesn't beg for attention because he commands respect in silence. That's the essence of Stoic attraction. Not manipulation, not revenge, but alignment. You no longer chase her, you chase purpose. You no longer seek her validation, you build your vision. And somewhere in that process, you become the kind of man who stops needing love to feel complete. And that's precisely when love starts to find you again. Because women don't fall for the man who tries to win them back. They fall for the man who wins himself back first. The man who stands in peace while others crumble in emotion. The man who leads himself so strongly that his silence speaks louder than any apology, any promise, any explanation. So if she's ignoring you right now, let her. If she's pulled away, bless her distance. Because what's meant for you won't need chasing. It will always return to the man who never lost himself trying to be chosen. Your goal isn't to make her chase you. It's to become the kind of man worth chasing, a man of discipline, a man of peace, a man of purpose. And if that's the man you're becoming, then welcome. You're in the right place. Subscribe to the Stoic Couple. Here, we don't talk about tricks, games, or tactics. We teach the psychology of power, the wisdom of detachment, and the calm strength of a man who lives by his values. Because real attraction isn't about making her come back, it's about becoming the kind of man who never needs to beg her to stay. So take a breath, brother. You've already won the moment you stop chasing. Now let your silence build what words never could. Before you go, remember, if you're ready to master yourself and the dating game, my full Stoic Couple course is waiting at thestoiccouple.podia.com. Join once and you're in for life, with lifetime access to every future lesson, series, and book. Start your journey now, because growth doesn't wait.